Here, and I guess we can get started and call this meeting to order. Thank you. And recognize that tonight's meeting is held on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw people. And just calling for any additions to the agenda. I think we might have an announcement.
If I might, we just wanted to announce that on Monday evening we're providing a information session for just to provide them with some basic information about the school district and you know, how board meetings occur and what our board policies are. So I just wanted to get that out there. Monday evening at 6 p.m.
Excellent. Perfect. Okay, and seeing no additions to the agenda, any deletions? Seeing none. Any changes in order? Seeing none. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Trustee Ray, seconded by Trustee Brozovich. All in favor? Anyone opposed? There we go. We could have a mover and seconder for the minutes. Moved by Trustee Ray, seconded by Trustee Brozovich. All in favor? Carried. Tonight we have a presentation. Am I missing something? No? Okay, so tonight we have a presentation. Best Me I Can Be program. And I'd like to invite Kelly up.
Good afternoon, I guess evening to everybody. Thanks for having me. My name's Kelly Ingalls. This is my second day as one of the new literacy support coordinators, so I'm very excited to be here, and I'm also to be in the position. And before that, I was at George Avenue for 5 years teaching grade 1. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about a program that Mr. Robinson came to me with and invited me to participate in. What's this right here? So the best me I can be. This is me in 1980, and it's it's my birthday. This grade, in grade 3, I think I won the Good Citizenship Award probably 4 or 5 times. I did my work. I was punctual. I sat quietly. I put my hand up. I did everything that I was supposed to do. And I won it over and over and over again. There was probably 5 of us in the whole class that won it over and over again. And then 2 years later, I started rebelling a little bit. This is me. I actually love this picture because I was the first girl to play in the Delta Football League, and it took a long time to get me to be able to play. We had to fight hard. But it's also, I look happy, but it was also a very kind of difficult time. This year I ended up when I was in grade 5, I had the police visit me twice at school. So I had really changed from being that perfect student to being that student that you didn't really want to have in your class, to tell you the honest truth. But this person needed the recognition to be a good citizen, or needed some sort of positive recognition a lot more than this one. This one was good. I already knew that I was good. This one needed to be recognized a little bit more. So anyway, I don't know what it was, December, maybe, Mr. Robinson came into George Avenue, sat down with a bunch of us at a table and talked to us about the best me that I could be. And I loved it. I loved his enthusiasm. I loved the positive message of it. And I also loved that it was going to celebrate not those kids. I mean, everybody needs to be celebrated, but it wasn't just the great behavior kids. It was the kids that we got to celebrate for something that was special about them. Now, a lot of the kids that I've worked with might never have heard some great things about themselves, but particularly about their learning. And so anyway, Bill and I got together, we kind of figured out what was going to be. He had this great idea to come up with this really nice certificate, and he was going to frame it so these kids could have it on their walls, which I actually still have one of my little good citizen things. So it is important to celebrate everybody, right? But so Bill came up with this great idea, and as he said, it's the best $2 he could spend, and I really do agree. It was a very good investment. So what we started on is we wanted to look at not just the behaviors, but the core competencies. What's going to make these kids really great students, successful learners. And at the time at our school, we were using successful learner traits. And so based on all of those things, we decided to recognize the children in different ways. Here is Mr. Robinson and a couple of my kids in my class. So every month, 5 kids were celebrated. Now, I want to say how much I love this, because the little one on the left, I went to George Avenue today, and she ran up to me and she said, "Guess what? I'm still a raven." And a raven in the successful learner traits is a creative thinker. So even she remembered from this year, this is something that was so amazing to her. Someone acknowledged, not that she was sitting nicely, or, you know, not that she was being quiet during a lesson, but that she was a creative thinker. And it'll probably stick with her. I mean, it stuck with her for a full year. It's the first thing she said. So I really thought that was amazing. Now this little one, so cute. She was actually the first recipient, and we could have just put good citizen right there for her. That would have been terrific. But we didn't. We talked about all of the things about her being, you know, kind to others, and she was a thoughtful learner as well. She was like an owl. She really thought about all of the, you know, big ideas. She took her learning above and beyond. So instead of just celebrating, you know, and saying like, "Oh, good job, you know, good job, you're sitting quietly, or you're doing this or that," we were really celebrating her learning, the way that her brain was working. And I mean, look how proud she is. It's so cute. Now this little guy, if you guys know Bill, you'll probably know this one brings a tear to his eye. He, after he got this award, he said to me, "I never, ever thought I'd get an award, ever."
You never told me that.
Yeah, he never, and that's what he said, "I never thought I would get an award." Now, he made huge gains last year, mostly in just how he saw himself. And that's what I really love about this. It's that it's just a great way for these kids to see themselves in a positive light, because they're all bringing something different to the table, and everybody's got something to celebrate. So I want you to watch a little bit of a video. This is hard for me to watch because Bill knows I don't like public speaking very much. He had to really bend my arm to do this, so I'm hoping this link works.
But when I hit you, it wasn't really hard.
Not too hard.
I think it is really an important thing to take all of those wonderful qualities that every kid has, and they're all different qualities, and really celebrate those. Some kids are going to be like extremely hard workers, and that's going to get them to become better in class. And some people have to be celebrated for their creative thinking or their compassion. Like there's all so many different ways that kids are the best that they can be. And it's important to realize that they're not going to be all of them. Not everybody is everything. It says, "I find my own way." And they're very creative in their thinking.
3 or 4 months ago, I woke up with the line, "The best me I can be," running through my head over and over and over again. I thought of a certificate program. The best me I can be, room for the teacher to write 3 or 4 things, times when the student had been the best me they could be. And it comes in a frame, the best $2 investment ever made. We present 5 a month for 4 months, but we tell the kids up front, at some time, everyone is going to be caught being the best they can be. I believe that self-confidence and self-esteem is so important, leading to success for students. And especially some students in the early grades who come to school and they're not yet prepared for school.
So this makes them see that they're just supposed to be challenging themselves. They're just supposed to become the best that they can be. That everybody's at different levels, and I think that's the important part. Oftentimes I think that they to others in the class and get discouraged that they're not there yet. So we're really trying to encourage that they're just bringing themselves up.
I'm hoping and I believe in a lot of cases it's going to get kids working a little harder, believing that they can.
Mason knew that he could do some stuff, but he didn't really believe that he could do as much as he actually can do. So Mason was one of the very first to receive one of these awards, and it was because he had kind of started to really change the way he was viewing himself. He was starting to think, you know what, I might not know how to do something yet, but I think I'm going to start trying just to get a little bit better. And Mason never attempted to do a spelling test. I think it made him feel a little bit uncomfortable, and he thought he couldn't do it. He kept saying, I don't know the sounds, I don't know the letters, I can't do it. And the week after he got his award, he ended up doing his very first spelling test, and he did extremely well on it. And it was the first time that he really said to himself, I can do it.
So I just want to say how much I loved this program. I loved that. Oh, thanks. I loved that
we have a teacher.
the other kids were so excited for the people that were receiving it. And I don't know if you saw in the that they're kind of at the very beginning. I was reading out a description of who the person was going to be, and they were guessing. They were like, I think it's Luca, because they know, like they got to see other people's strengths as well. And so I just love this. I really, really love this program. I think it did amazing things for the kids and for all the children. And then it's not going to, it's not going to solve all of the things, but if it's one more $2, that is going to get them to see themselves maybe in a little bit of a different light. I just think it's a terrific program, and I thank Bill for allowing me to be a part of it. And I wish I could continue it this year. So I'm hoping maybe some other people will get to continue it throughout the district. So.
Tell them about Mason reading the next week.
Oh, Mason?
Mason, rather.
Yes. Well, he wouldn't. He pretty much refused to do anything, and as soon as he got it, he just tried, and that's really sometimes the most important thing, is that they're just going to try. If there was a block, and then he finally started trying. So one day he'll get there, and he'll be a great reader. He'll be a great writer, and he'll probably think better of himself. I'm hoping he will. So thank you.
If I can jump in, I'm really hoping that each of the trustees here will find at least 3 or 4 grade 1 teachers, grade 1, 2, or 3, but my feeling is, I got cut off on the video. I'm thinking of it being for kids who come to school less than well prepared, therefore not likely to get a lot of pats on the back, and therefore lose out on that opportunity to build self-esteem and self-confidence. And everyone gets it, and every time we presented one, you saw in the video one of the kids running up and hugging a friend, that response was there all the time. So I'm really hoping that we can grow this. It's less than $50 a class, and Scott's going to pick it up. The costs, I'm going to set it up in a way that's easier than the way we did it this year. The teachers will be able to handle the whole thing themselves, print it out themselves, and so on. So I will be talking to you each individually, and this thing is a really good thing, and I really want to see it catch on.
Thank you so much, Bill, and thank you, Kelly, for your presentation. We have some questions, so we'll start with Trustee Ray.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you, Trustee Methuselah. It was outstanding to see. It is inspiring what happens in this school district every day, and this is just another example of it. So on behalf of all of us, thank you very much for your commitment to our kids, Bill and Kelly. And it's exciting. And I guess my question was, how are we going to expand this past where it is today? But you half answered that. So we'll move forward in a way that we can do this in all our schools. So anyway, thank you very much. It was well done, you guys.
Maybe we'll get a chance to present to principals. Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to talk to the superintendent. Oh, he's here.
Actually, Superintendent Saywell would like to say a few things as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. You exhibited a couple things that make me think about what are high yield activities in classrooms to improve life chances for kids. Number one, the best thing to improve learning for kids is teacher expertise. I think you exhibited that wonderfully. You obviously care for your kids, and that came through. Thank you. The second thing is to have high expectations for students. It's the best thing we can do. And when you give a student a reward like that and expect great things of him, great things happen. So I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Tanya?
I just was going to say, I think it's a fantastic program. I think, first of all, we probably do want to make sure that we're getting it with the younger, continuing in these younger grades in more of our schools. But eventually, I would love us to think about some of those older elementary grades. I used to be involved with a program called Girl Talk, which was grade 6 and 7 girls. And I can tell you there's a lot of that age group, and particularly girls, self-esteem is a huge issue, and anything we can do to reinforce self-esteem in those, it doesn't stop when you hit grade 3. Like, they're suddenly okay. New things happen with puberty and that grade 5, 6, 7 can be pretty tricky. Yeah.
I'm thinking of an older version.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to talk to you about that.
I like the fact that it celebrates diversity, and just that unique special trait, that's in every one of us, really. And that's just beautiful that you guys focused on the positives, because then the positives just it's almost like a roller coaster that just keeps rolling. You know what I mean? And to hear the kids were excited about other kids' turns. Like, it's kind of like the opposite of bullying. It almost seems like you guys are onto something. I thought, Bill, you surprised me. You surprised me.
I'm waiting for you to surprise me too.
Oh.
One thing I did want to say is there's a book that is kind of follows the same learner traits, and it's called Six Seaters, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. And I think that's a great way, is to use the Six Seaters book. A lot of schools are using it right now to continue on with the learner traits, using the animals and all of the imagery and stuff and all the stories. I think that would be a great way to continue with help.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. So the next on our agenda is reconciliation.
It's going to be the deputy superintendent actually tonight.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to start off practicing what we preach here. And we've asked each of our school administrators to start to use Hulkaminam within their presentations, their language, their sharing with staff. So I'm going to start off, Akswale, everyone, good day, and thank you very much for having me here this evening. It's my pleasure to be speaking to the board. Just a quick update on the Reconciliation Committee and the fine work that's been taking place within this committee. So first of all, before we start, I just want to acknowledge Stephanie Johnson, who's been working very closely with the committee in terms of the leadership, and also acknowledge Trustee Higginson and Trustee Robinson for their fine work in terms of leadership. And, oh, Jamie Smith, thank you. And Jamie's here. Jamie is also a member here. So I'm going to introduce the committee members, but Jamie's also been a very integral part representing CUPE at the table. So thank you again. So as I get into this, Trustee Higginson, Trustee Robinson have been co-chairs and leading this this work and leading the committee. Lawrence Mitchell from Snohomish First Nation, Joan Brown from Snuneymuxw First Nation, Pearl Harris from Staminas First Nation, Ron Poitras from Mid-Island Métis Nation, and Grace Elliott Nielsen from Tillicum-Lalem Aboriginal Friendship Center make up our knowledge holders, and certainly are very instrumental in leading the direction and the conversation for the work that's being done through this committee. So I thank them deeply for that work. Denise Wood from the NDTA, and as I mentioned, Jamie Smith through CUPE, Local 606, has also been instrumental in helping to bring this work forward. Leanna Pellegrin through the District Parent Advisory Council, and we have a new member on the committee, Ted Cadwallader, who is our District Principal for Aboriginal Education, will be joining the committee. We have our next meeting this coming Monday, and we're very pleased to have him join. And thank Ann Tenning, who is our outgoing District Principal for Aboriginal Education, for her contribution as well. In addition to myself, as I mentioned, Stephanie Johnson's been very instrumental in helping guide the work that's being done and pulling people together. So it's been very enlightening for me to be part of this group and to see what's been happening here. I'm just going to put forward an objective that the group has been working on, and it reads, Truth and Reconciliation is a goal of the district, and it's an ongoing journey. The objective of this process is to create a guiding document or vision statement of reconciliation in the education of the Nanaimo Ladysmith Public Schools, reflecting shared values. And I'm going to share with you some of the values that have been listed here. So honesty, courage, humility, respect, vulnerability, trust, and truth. And I think you'll recognize within those values that they are values that are shared throughout our school district, and certainly values that have been put forward by our Board of Education. Just to give you an update since June, and to let you know there has been work that's been taking place over the summer. June 18th, there was a presentation of the draft framework through the committee, and this is the work that will be coming forward to the Board of Education through the Education Committee. So it's continued work, it's ongoing, and the intent is to bring this forward to the Education Committee in October. July 31st, our Indigenous knowledge holders had a meeting together, and certainly what they were looking at that time was how do we move this forward, but also in terms of the work that was being done at the board level with the board and staff through the August retreat. Again, a lot of work around protocol and helping guide us in that direction. August 7th, the Reconciliation Board and Staff Retreat, so there was another planning meeting. And on the 22nd was the Board and Staff Retreat, and it was very heartwarming for me to have our knowledge keepers come forward and lead that session with us. So they had an afternoon for those of us that were able to attend, an afternoon session really leading the work around reconciliation and having us move from our heads, in our minds, into our hearts, and recognizing the work that's being done there. So very powerful work. And as I mentioned, September 10th coming up here, the committee is going to continue to explore the work around the draft framework, and in hopes and intent of bringing that forward to the Board of Education in October. So I'm going to say my closing remark here is Heichka. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I do look forward to our continued work with the committee. The intent of my presentation was just to give a brief update so you know that this work continues and where we're heading into the near future here. So thank you very much for listening to me. Good, thank you.
All right, so Superintendent Saywell's report.
Great, thank you. I wanted to do a quick enrollment update and a staffing update, but before I get into that, I'd like to recognize 3 of our teachers who are finalists for the Premier's Award for Teaching Excellence. First one is Tanya Adelberg from Randerson Ridge Elementary, who's a finalist in the Extracurricular Leadership Award. And then 2 finalists in the Indigenous Education Award. We have Mandy Jones from Ladysmith Secondary School, Ho'okaminam language teacher, and Emily Racalma at Nanaimo District Secondary School. So that's exciting news, and congratulations to those teachers. Again, so quick update on enrollment. Of course, staff have been working hard over the summer preparing schools with the addition to Frank J. May, the expansion of the gym at Hammond Bay, and the new satellite VAST program at Woodland Secondary School. We're very excited about that. Enrollment is up this year. We don't know how much yet because we're still in flux, but I can tell you that we had 110 students enroll last week alone. So we still have some students in and out of the system, which has us, working at the school level to get kids into classes and into their divisions as quickly as possible. So we do thank parents for their support and patience while we do that. And of course, the challenge is with so many students at the last minute coming into our system and out, it's hard to organize the classes. So I thank parents for that. As far as staffing goes, I'm told we have 400 teachers teaching on call, on our roster right now, which is enough. We had a number of days last year where we had a failure to fill, so we've done some hiring over the last few months, a lot of hiring over the summer, so we're looking good going into the year. Still have 52 postings unfilled, teaching postings, and while we will fill those, we're still a little challenged by some of a few areas of expertise, like still French immersion is a bit of a challenge for us, and senior math and science as well. Other areas that are of concern is we still have a couple jobs for counselors and student support teachers still available. Couple child, youth, family support worker positions are vacant, but where we had a challenge with educational assistance support last year, we're good going into this year. So that's the enrollment and staffing update. Looking forward to the year. It's nice to have almost a full contingency of staff. So thank you.
It's good to have growing enrollment too, so rather than the declining enrollment over the past 20 years.
Yeah, with it comes some problems around getting kids into classes, of course, but it's a much better challenge. We'll know at the end of the month what our number is, how much we're up since September last year, but we'll be up at least a couple hundred.
So we have some questions. Trustee Higginson.
Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions. I'm just wondering if you know a breakdown of, you said the 110 last week. Do we know a breakdown sort of what are elementary and secondary? Is it more elementary? Is it more secondary? Do we?
Yes. Secondary's a bit more of a challenge in September with students coming in and out. But we have, Carrie, help me out if I get it wrong, but to date, we still have a few kids leaving elementary. We're up 204 students in elementary. 204?
Around
Since last year.
4, although that is a moving target, and that is over projections.
Over projections.
204 over
Correct.
projection. Over what we were projecting to be over already.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can I have a couple? Should I wait? Can I have a couple more?
Okay, I'll go to Trustee Routley first.
Okay. Thank you.
I just had a question about, are those numbers above the estimates? Are they going into classrooms? Are they going to portables? What's the ratio there? Are you seeing some sticky areas? Are you seeing some, and what I mean areas, I mean schools. Particular where there's more portables. Yeah.
Great question. We have a couple schools where we have a bottleneck, and we have added a few portables this year, but we still have the schools where we have a bottleneck, and we're likely to add some teacher staffing in those schools. We'll decide on that by the end of the week. We have some space in the school, and or we have a portable that's on its way.
Oh, okay.
So we're good. Yeah.
Okay, Trustee Higginson?
So you mentioned 52 unfilled postings. I wonder how many we've filled.
Well, that's 52 postings that will close this Friday.
Okay.
11 of those postings were a carryover that we weren't able to fill in the last round of posting.
So then are they new postings as a result of the new students coming in that we've?
Yeah, so through the process since April, we've had 470, around 480 postings throughout that posting season.
Okay.
And so staff have the opportunity to take a job, drop it, right, because they see a better one. And so now we're down to essentially our final round with 52.
So I think that the reason I inquire about that is because I think, there's a big narrative out there about unfilled positions right now.
Yes.
But for every unfilled position, there's a lot more filled positions, which is actually a good news story. And I think it would be great for us to talk about the good news sides of things. We have this many new teachers in the district this year. We filled this many positions. It gives people confidence to hear that. When they hear, the unfilled positions, that's what they hear. But if they hear about the filled positions, about, the staff that work to fill the positions, and I also think maybe, I don't know if we did this already, we may have. I know there was some internal communications about the teachers, the Premier's Award teachers, but I think that's really good news. I think we should share that news with the media. These are, teachers who are working really hard, doing really good things. So if we've got, 400 filled positions, that's a good news story, I think. That's more teachers, more new teachers in the district. That's just a thought on it. I feel like there's a narrative out there right now that we're trying hard to counter. And I just also, when you say 52 unfilled, and you mentioned French immersion, senior math and science, is there is the rest just spread across elementary, secondary? Is it just kind of a...
Yeah, I don't know exactly what those postings are. I mention it because we're into the year and we're still staffing. Those specialty positions have been a challenge for us for a while.
Always.
In comparison, though, to places, I'll use the worst example, which is Surrey. They're really challenged to fill positions, and I don't know if you saw the news last night, but Souk has had a challenge for a while as well to get teachers teaching on call. We have 400 of them. We've hired 280 teachers since January 2017. A large number of those are coming from the Lower Mainland, who are seasoned teachers. I'm really happy with our recent hirings. A principal accosted me yesterday and told me about a job that she was posting, and she had 3 excellent candidates, and said what a great job the hiring people are doing in getting really good people to this district. So thank you. It is really good news, and Nanaimo was a great place to live. So we're still having teachers move here.
I think it would be nice for us to be proactive in our media as opposed to reactive. Building confidence is important in our system. So. That's it. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any other questions? Trustee Routley?
And this is only because I don't know. It seems like having the specialty teachers have a bit of a gap. Do we have mentors within those roles that are able to be there kind of for the next generation? Or are we kind of asking the teachers where they want to be, where their strengths are? Could there be teachers in the district that want to do the counseling role or be a specialist teacher? Right now they're happy enough in their position but want the next level. Like, how does that work? Are we paired with any post-secondary on that kind of mentorship, next level kind of stuff?
We're heavily recruiting in the areas where we're challenged, like French immersion. So we've gone on recruiting trips to get these teachers. As far as if there's mentorship, that's programs in schools. That's sort of an ongoing thing that happens. But I can't tell you of a specific mentorship program to recruit certain
From within?
Yeah.
Yes. Trustee Brennan?
Yeah, the difficulty in recruiting qualified French teachers is a national challenge. The Toronto School Board is having difficulty, as well as others. And I recall that the problem was addressed to the provincial government some time ago, and there was a commitment from the Ministry of Education to provide more emphasis on and more classes for French immersion student teachers, to try to generate more qualified French immersion teachers from within our school system here, rather than having to go to France or Quebec or New Brunswick to recruit qualified teachers. And to the question of couldn't you put like somebody be mentored, if somebody doesn't speak French, they're not going to be asked to teach French if they don't know French. You have to be qualified, and the same with any other course. So you have to get people who are qualified. You can't sort of create them out of nothing.
Oh, yes.
So with all of the new teachers that we're bringing on, I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to what we're doing regarding onboarding for all of these new people that are new to the district, and what sort of, and I'm assuming a lot of them are young teachers that are sort of just starting out, and what are we doing for mentorship for these, to provide these new teachers with the best kind of supports that we can?
Yeah, we're embarking on a new mentorship program with the NDTA. The challenge is that when teachers get attached to a position in a school, there's some mentorship opportunities at the school level, of course. Our challenge is to engage TTOCs, who we invite to all our professional development activities and professional learning communities that happen on the Mondays. And we do a very structured onboarding program for them as well. We can always do more, but we have a new district principal of HR who's working in this regard as well. So, yeah, I think we're doing some good stuff.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Anything further?
Thank you.
No? Perfect. So Deputy Superintendent Davey in Department of Learning Services.
It's actually our assistant superintendent, so we make the presentation.
Fair enough.
Good evening. We're very thankful that Deputy Superintendent Tim Davey asked us to do this presentation at the very first Education Committee meeting of the school year, because it's our pleasure to share with trustees and guests our key priorities for 2018-19 school year. And future trustees. So, next slide. So, our work, we have the responsibility to making sure that our work is aligned with Ministry of Education expectations. But a really key focus for us is aligning our work with board goals. So we're proud to say that our work perfectly aligns with both of these. And you recognize these goals on the screen very well. And we're very pleased to talk a little bit more about each of these this evening. Oh, good, thank you. So within our Department of Learning Services, we created 4 learning objectives. So these are objectives that align with those goals of trustees. So they are curriculum and instruction, assessment and reporting, collaborative culture, and safe, caring, and inclusive schools. So what we're going to do for you this evening is tell you a little bit more about the priorities within each of these 4 areas. This is a graphic organizer that we use, and you'll recognize this slide as we talk about each of them.
So moving forward to the 2018-19 school year, curriculum and instruction, of course, remains a focus. The BC curriculum, we still sort of call it new, with a small n new. At the elementary level, we're well on our way. There's still lots to learn and lots to digest, but we're making good headway. Reconciliation in its many forms within average education and throughout the system maintains a focus. Reading is still a focus, K to 9. And we're starting to approach looking at numeracy in the same way that we have literacy over the last several years.
And at secondary level, we're very, very excited to implement the new grade 10 curriculum. However, I have been saying to all the people that I've been meeting with, we have been doing that for a number of years now. And so I feel very confident and very comfortable in knowing that our educators out there will be implementing their grade 10 curriculum in a very solid way, in a very effective way, because they have been actually piloting it for a number of years. And I think that the main focus areas will be around careers, career life education. We will be diving deep into that. We will be creating capstones. We've been looking at new curriculum, so we will be preparing our teachers for that. And also, I think around our English language arts at grade 10 level, there are 5 different strands that students and parents can help to guide their children to choose from in terms of English language arts. And so we're very excited about it, and I think that we're well on our way.
And we have the benefit this year as well, again, to have a curriculum in service day. So that's coming up really quick in October. The focus at elementary will be with sort of under the umbrella of inclusion, a big focus on the core competencies. And all elementary teachers will be, they've requested that they all be together again, which is a positive thing.
And in moving forward regarding student support, we, as you know, we hired a manager of mental health and addictions in the last budget. So in moving forward, a curriculum and instruction focus in that area is looking at mental health and addictions across our curriculum K-12.
All right, assessment and reporting. I think that our major focus has to be around assessment for learning and formative assessment. However, as we move forward, we have a number of assessments that we're doing. On a provincial level, we started the numeracy assessment last June. So all of our students, maybe from 10, 11, and 12, will do that for their 2018 grad program. And also we have been chosen, and we put our name forward, to actually do the literacy assessment, pilot that. That is coming up next January 2019. So we are, 2020. As far away as that, but we're very excited to pilot that because I think it's very helpful for us to get a handle on what that looks like. Also, we're always looking at how do we communicate student learning and how do we do that in the most effective ways. And so presently we're looking at My Education BC, our platform, to utilize that to the strength that it's there for us to use. We have 5 high schools. We'll be opening up a family portal. We're very excited about it, a little bit nervous in terms of opening up to 5 more high schools. And so we're very excited about offering some great professional learning opportunities in the next 2 weeks to support our teachers as we open up that portal so that our parents can have that little look into their lives of their children at the high school level. And then...
Well, we thought we'd recommend that the P and NLPS change from public to pilot, because we've also applied and been accepted to be a member of a small team in the province to pilot the ministry's reporting policy. And we jumped on that one because we have the opportunity to be one of the districts that really informs provincial mandate around assessment and reporting, and because we've just made such great leaps, we don't want to move backwards. And we do believe that we were chosen because we have made such great gains over the last couple of years, and we are one of, if not the only, district in the province to be gradeless K-9. Not everyone's doing the 8-9 gradeless cross district, so NLPS.
Innovative. So in terms of student support in this area of assessment and reporting, we, as you should expect us to do, we've woven accommodations and interventions for students who require additional support all the way through this work. A key highlight in that area is by the end, we're hoping by Christmas we'll have a brochure, because we always get a lot of questions every year, as do you, around how do I get my child to have a psychoeducational assessment. So we are finally to the place where we're ready to show our assessment continuum for students who have special needs in a brochure so that we have clear communication with the field.
We continue to strive to build a collaborative culture, continuing the emphasis on building stronger PLCs, and within that, learning and being really efficient and effective with our collaborative inquiry cycle. We've graciously been given the nod to expand our focus schools to our Focus Schools 2.0 to include 8 more schools for a total of 12. We recently had our summer symposium, brain camp, around all of these learning objectives with over 100 people, teachers showing up and having brunch and learning together. It was amazing. We're continuing back by, oh yeah.
I just want to add, just the new teachers and the experienced teachers come to that brain camp. So about half and half.
Yeah.
So that mentorship that you spoke about earlier, we're certainly building up those technical skills as well as those adaptive skills.
Backed by popular demand is our Meet series, again focused on these learning objectives again. We're going to continue with that this year, as well as our principal and vice principal learning series on a number of topics, including reconciliation.
All right, so the safe, caring, and inclusive schools, you'll be hearing less from me about this and more from everyone about this as we move forward in this work. This is not a Bob Eslinger thing. This is a everybody thing. And we all need to work together in that collaborative and inclusive way that we work to bring about safe, caring, and to continue this work. So we have a couple of bullets there for you to lay your eyes on. And response to intervention is still alive and well in Nanaimo Lady Smith Public Schools. We don't flash the triangle and talk about the graphic organizer anymore, because it's not about the image, it's about the work that we're doing. So all of this work around assessment, reporting, curriculum, and collaboration is the work of response to intervention. We still have the tiers. We still talk about tiers 1, 2, and 3. We talk about what happens in tier 1 and that differentiated instruction and accommodating the diverse needs of all the learners in our classrooms, but we know that we also need additional supports for kids who require that. So those are tier 2. And tier 3, that's the students who require some intensive interventions, whatever it is, across the spectrum of need. So we have those. Moving on, this year, one of the big pieces that we're all going to be involved in, K-12, is student support SCAN. And that covers the gamut of what programs and services do we offer to kids who are not your typical learners in a school setting, and then what do we offer at the district level for kids who would function maybe in a different setting. And we're also going to be looking at the functioning of school-based teams and really take our teamwork to the next level. Because of all this collaboration, skills are building, and so we're going to refine processes as we go. So the work of social justice continues. We're not going to drop what we've been doing around sexual orientation, gender identity. We're going to be focusing, hopefully, more on issues of racism and discrimination. And so just continuing the good work around all things social justice. And again, weaving that through curriculum K-12. It's already happening. I don't mean to insinuate it's not, but there's always room for us to continue this work. The learning series, we're going to add, as we did last year, many more sessions for teachers and parents and principals so that everyone can build capacity in working with all these issues that we're dealing with. We have a mantra in our district that we've been building over the years, and I hear it now myself when I go into schools. People talk about educative, preventative, and restorative. This is our work. We're an education system. Everything we do is educative. Through the education we do, that's the prevention work in many cases, but sometimes we must have staff like child and youth care workers and counselors who actually purposefully do prevention work. And then because we work with kids, we know that things are going to go sideways sometimes. We don't come from a punitive place, we come from a restorative place. And so that's our mantra in 3 simple words. And we put a little quote there that we like to bring forward every time we get a chance, that on planet Earth, diversity exists, but inclusion does not exist naturally. We have to work at it. So we create inclusion through ongoing, open, and honest conversation. And that's what we do, and that's what we engage in our work.
And so if a lot of this or some of this sounds familiar, that's a good thing, because we know that learning and change takes time and that we want to go deeper.
Well, that sounds like excellent work. Thank you so much for your presentation. We have some questions, and we'll start with Trustee Ray.
Thanks, guys, for your presentation, and thank you, Bob, as usual. What would we do without Bob? You know, it's Bob, right? Yes. What I find interesting is that things are on the list from last year, and it means that things are working, and you, all 3 of you guys articulated it extremely well. So I think it's a really good sign that we're repeating the actions of last year instead of scratching our heads and starting anew again. So I just wanted to tip my hats to all you guys for coming up with the brilliant ideas to start with and to continue them on in a positive way. So thanks very much for your hard work. Appreciate it.
Thanks. I want to go back to talk a little bit about the family portal you mentioned. And I think it's great anytime parents can have more information about what's happening with their students' learning or their child's learning. So what my concern is, though, is I've had some parents say to me, you know, they had teachers who were on fresh grade, and what was happening is they were just getting like fired stuff. And they're just like, that's nice. But they didn't, the parent couldn't connect it. The parent didn't understand how this was an example of the student's learning. They didn't even know what they're supposed to connect it to in order to understand. And so my concern about it is how much time a teacher spends doing it in a way that's meaningful for everyone. Because, you know, if a teacher is spending a whole bunch of time sending off these, you know, pieces of information, then making sure, you know, maybe it's less is more or something. Anyway, I'm just wondering what we're doing to ensure that we're having a meaningful use of technology instead of just expecting people to use it without actually really providing them with a background or tools. And
so I'll start, and then maybe Laura can help finish up. I think when it comes to a number of tools, they all have different purposes. So when we look at fresh grade, we're looking at fresh grade as the ongoing communication of student learning, something that can help build a digital portfolio that can be shared with families, maybe not to the extent that maybe you refer to, but rather we have to build those skill sets, I think, around our teachers, and that it has to be something that they can build upon and move forward, and that would be the tool of fresh grade, okay? And then maybe Laura will want to add a little bit more to that, but the family portal is really a number of things. It would push out report cards so that you wouldn't have to print out, let's say, NDSS, 1,500 report cards. Instead, you could actually look on the portal, and once they're through with the report card, actually see it. So that's a tool that it can provide that communication to around reporting. But it can also be used as helping our teachers have a grade book. So instead of the use of Jupiter Ed, we're using MyEd, and we're starting this year. And that will be a grade book that teachers will be using to track, monitor, assess using the standards-based assessment processes in order to use that tool. but it's also a way to communicate as well. So I think that what we're trying to build upon would be that there's a number of different platforms and usages of all of these technologies, but we have to help support and provide those opportunities. And we don't always want to just choose one. We want to use a multitude of things at times, maybe support things more than others with regard to that. So your first question was around ongoing communication of student learning, and we have to really build our skills around that.
And that's why it still sits on these objectives as a goal. The ministry still has yet to confirm or issue a mandate yet. And so we are trying to balance all of those demands. We've only sort of been on this journey for the last couple of years. And your question is a really good one. And it's about, if we can even step back from all the technology, this whole notion of portfolio, we're still growing a common understanding and co-constructing the definition of what a portfolio is. So we have criteria built for the ongoing communication of student learning that will, for lack of a better term, count as an official communication home. But we're still learning because we get excited and want to share what the children are doing, and sometimes a whole bunch of stuff will go in the portfolio. So we're still on that learning journey, but we've got structures, criteria set in place. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
Trustee Brosford.
Thank you. And as an aside, we also have to always consider how we support our families who don't have access to technology and can't get on the portal. That's not a question, that's a comment. My question was actually for Ms. Gray around the secondary curriculum day. I know Ms. Tate was saying that elementary teachers are all doing something together. Will that be the same for secondary? Or?
No, I was going to add on, but we kind of moved on. But all the elementary teachers will be at Wellington, and Wellington has been so gracious to move over to Dover for us. But right now, because we are implementing the grade 10 curriculum, all of our schools and our school leaders want to stay in their school and really dive into their grade 10 curriculum this year. And so they want to work within that frame.
Thank you. With that grade 10 curriculum, am I correct in thinking that if we're doing grade 10 curriculum this year, next year 11 will be added on and then 12, or?
We are assuming so,
yes.
And that's the plan for the ministry. But sometimes things get adjusted along the way.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Comments? No? Wonderful. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you, Robin, Laura, and Bob. Okay, sure. It's for the end. I guess we don't have any correspondence referred from the regular board meeting. No unfinished business. Oh, actually, there is. Sorry. Sorry. Superintendent Saywell.
Yes, Superintendent Blaine left this, maybe his last order of business. I'll give you a quick background. On Wednesday, May 9th, 2018, the Nanaimo Ladysmith Public Schools Business Committee discussed the topic of board recognition. It was determined that Superintendent John Blaine and Trustee Jamie Brennan would work together to develop criteria and report back at today's Business Committee meeting. On Wednesday, June 13th, 2018, the Nanaimo Ladysmith Public Schools Business Committee provided feedback to the proposed criteria and referred this matter to the Education Committee meeting in September 2018, today, with the suggested amendments. So here's the recommendation. It was determined that recognition be based on total completed terms of public service. The following levels of recognition are at the sole discretion of the board and are proposed for all current and past school trustees. Trustees who completed 1 to 2 terms, there would be an acknowledgement certificate. Trustees completing 3 or more completed terms, a trustee will receive a PIN for the duration of their time on the Board of Education. Trustees with more than 3 completed terms will receive a PIN that corresponds with their most recent completed terms, and I think we have a photo in here of the PIN, what it might look like. 4 to 5 completed terms, individual photo and bio in the trustee's album. If the trustee is elected for another term, this information will be updated at the end of the term. 6 or more completed terms, commemoration plaque with photo and bio. The plaque, which first be nominated by the board of the day, will be displayed on a designated wall in the boardroom. And I think you have an example of that in your package.
I think it was meant to say the plaque which must first be nominated
Which
by the board
must-
of the day.
Which must first, yes.
Yeah, so it has to be an action.
Thank
by the
you.
board.
That's what John Blaine is on the board of the day.
Yeah, it was 7 or more terms. There was to be a car, I think.
For 7 or more.
Yes, that's right. Lobotomy.
Counseling for life.
Yeah.
Counseling for life, yes, at 7 or more. Those are the recommendations.
Yeah,
Natasha? Yes.
Yeah, I think these are reasonable, not overly excessive. Yeah, and I think the statement that 7 or more terms, you should have some counseling, is a good suggestion. But I would move that the Education Committee recommend this procedure to the board. Bond, Jane Bond.
Any further comments to that?
No, I think it's not overly garish or not too expensive. I think the boards will be able to afford the 1 or 2 plaques that come every 50 years.
Any other comments? Trustee Higginson?
I just like that it says at the sole discretion of the board. It does give the board some discretion if there's some reasons not to.
Yep.
Thank you for
So you
that.
gotta take the car out, so that way
Yes.
save a little money.
Sure. Carrie has a...
What's your hurry?
Trustee Brennan, can I just ask a clarification question?
Sure.
Are you suggesting that the Education Committee recommend to the Board of Education that the procedure be placed in policy or just as a guideline in policy?
In policy, yeah.
Okay. Well, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Carrie.
I think the idea of a car.
That's a great idea. So where are we? We have no new business. Did you have a chance to send it? Should we invite her to ask him? Do we have any more questions?
Normally you would read
Yeah,
out the
there's some
question
questions.
or they can,
Oh, there's 2 questions. Okay.
you can read the questions.
Okay.
Scott can answer those 2 or refer them, and then I've got one that I'll.
Okay, so we have a few questions here. I'll read them out. The first one is, why moratorium after registration was closed? Why not no out of catchment at all since kids weren't going to get in? What are you going to do about high schools if you are having problems now with kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2? Open Woodlands again. Is question by Jana.
Yeah, there's
Pardon me?
I'll be fine.
so the question is around why a moratorium when students aren't getting in out of catchment. There's still an opportunity to get in out of catchment, but it takes a coordinated effort. If students are moving from one school to another and they're opening some space in the other school, then there's still a little dance we have to do to try to get parents and students their choice of school. We do have, as I mentioned earlier, sort of a challenging proposition this time of year with students coming into schools, but also leaving schools that can create some space. So there's still an opportunity.
Okay.
As far as what we're going to do in high school, well, we'll be embarking fairly soon on a long-range facilities plan, which would, include some suggestions for, catchment areas and proposal for, new school construction and the like. So I can't predetermine what that looks like, but we'll be embarking on a long-range facility plan.
Thank you. I'll read the next question. Why is there a June 15th cutoff if you are still going to accept in-catchment requests after school has started? My suggestion, close registration June 15th to June 30th and deal with all the in-catchment kids, then deal with all of out-of-catchment kids, then open July 1st or July, August for late registration, and you go where they have spots.
Yeah, I'd probably answer that similarly, because there is such flux in and out. There is ongoing opportunity for students to get into their school of choice. So it's as schools feel it's a challenging proposition. I appreciate for parents, challenging for staff also to get students into their choice of school. But that's our reality right now.
Yes. Yes. What did you say earlier about how many new students showed up after?
110 students showed up last week,
Yeah.
new to the district.
So they wouldn't have been affected by the June 15th cutoff because they weren't here.
Correct.
And also part of it is that we have policy. And so the policy outlines those dates in the policy. And as we noticed today, our policy on catchment hasn't been updated since, I think it was 2004 or 2002, because for many years we've been in declining enrollment. So it's probably time for us to take a look at it and make sure that it still reflects the desires of the community. It's very focused on neighborhood schools, the out of catchment policy, and keeping kids in their neighborhood schools. So it's probably time for a new board. You guys listening over there? To look at an out of catchment policy, a review of it.
Another issue is the academies or special schools
Yep.
that really draw from other catchments, which contributes to the confusion. So.
The only thing, if I may, just further to Superintendent Saywell, is he made reference to the long-range facilities plan, and again, we have this, we keep saying over and over again, we've got unprecedented enrollment, the SCC happened at the same time, so there's so many emerging factors that this next long-range facilities plan is going to just be really all-encompassing in terms of looking at where are we going, where's the board going in terms of education, and how does that plan, how does our facilities, how do our catchments, how do all of these things support that? So it's just, it's a big question, and I can just reassure everyone that we'll be embarking on that process, and it'll be very wholesome.
And then we have bargaining.
Lots of factors at play. We have one more set of questions, primarily in relation to, it looks like RTI, and Natasha was going to read them and then refer them to learning services.
Yes, so I'll just read it quickly then. Okay. So I'll just read this last question. Part 1 is, how often do Tier 3 interventions occur in relation to literacy, specifically in elementary, intermediate grades? And part 2 is, have the number of interventions become less after the introduction of the NLPS formative assessment tool? So I'll forward this to our team. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Bob had to leave to get the ferry, and he is in every single one of our integrated case management meetings.
He'd be the perfect
determine
person to be
placement.
answering this.
Yeah. Can we get back to Charlene maybe, or?
Probably able to provide some. I think that we can sort of provide maybe an anecdotal response, but I don't have that data in front of me. Great questions. I know that from anecdotally, particularly in the focus schools, that the interventions have definitely changed, and that we have become more wholesome and fulsome, with more efficacy at that Tier 1 level, so at that classroom level, supporting classroom teachers, keeping kids in the classroom, doing more push-in versus push-out, right? That looks like maybe a Tier 2 or Tier 3. So absolutely, we're seeing more of that wholesome kind of activity at the Tier 1 level and the classroom level, which leads me to believe that, right, at the triangle, we're getting less kind of Tier 3 referrals because we're having more kids staying in the classroom Tier 1. And going along with that, there has been, as you know, a whole bunch of learning because of this NLPS reading assessment, and that teachers, educators of all sorts are getting much better at being able to sort of look at the data and figure out what to do next in order to serve that child's needs far better than we ever used to. We're still using all of our supports from our LSST members, our student support teachers, our SLPs, our ed psychs, all of those. But as well, the teacher is a part of that role, whereas it might not have been that way before. It might have been a little bit more of an expertise kind of referral. We're seeing far more of that now staying in the classrooms. But I don't have specific numbers for you. Bob might have that, but great questions. Yeah, thank you.
Very good questions. So I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. Any further move to adjourn? Trustee Brennan, seconded by Trustee Brosnan. Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
I realized what you meant.